I got some good news and bad news. It's like, what's the good news? My car is incredibly rare. What's the bad news? It's not worth shit. This is my 1979 Mitsubishi Scorpion, which most people will probably just know as a two-door Sigma. I think I've owned this car for about 8 years now, coming up close to that. It looks a lot worse than when I got it, but that's because I've put it through absolute hell, and it's put me through hell. I don't know, I fell in love with this car, just driving this car. I didn't care that it wasn't fast. It was just the sound of the carburetors going, the old feel of the car, the 80s dash. It's like, if you have a look at the dash in here, even the steering wheel itself, just how old everything is, the shifter that has a million miles of throw in it before it goes into a gear. It's really weird to explain that you tell somebody that you have this car and they have one of two reactions. Either, why the hell do you have a Sigma? Or two, what the hell is it? But after a while, people started to recognize this car for me, and I think some people even loved it more than I did. I just love that sound. I was in a really bad point in my life. I just lost my home where I was living for many different reasons. It's in the past now, it doesn't really matter, but at the same time, the stress from all that, I lost my job. I fucked up at my job, and I was then couch surfing for a long time. I had 3 cars at the time. I had this car, I had a Swift GTI, and I had my daily Falcon. But I chose to drive this car around everywhere just so that I don't know, I felt as though this was the only thing I had in my life that mattered at the time, that actually felt, it made me feel good about my life, I guess. You know, I had no money to my name. I couldn't even get on Centrelink or get any sort of assistance because all of my stuff was in storage and I couldn't pay my storage fees. Thus, I couldn't get into my storage unit to get my identification. I couldn't go to Centrelink. I couldn't go to Medicare. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even get a job without identification. So I was really, really fucked. I used to drive up the hills still quite a lot, and it was on the stock engine at the time, and that thing has like balance shafts in them that spin at twice the speed of the engine itself. I was chasing my friend's Civic, and I pushed this car well past its limit, basically forced too much pressure on the oil pump, which was the one gauge that I did not have working in the car, blew the oil pump, and it blew the big end. I didn't even say a word. I just got out of the car, sort of like crouched down looking at it, like something out of Initial D or something like that. Just to top it all off, it was my birthday, and I slept in this car on my birthday. That was probably the point where that was it. I was ready to end it. For some reason, I had an engine there. I was delivering pizza at the time. I'd walk down to the place, an hour and a half walk to go and use the delivery car to go and deliver pizzas. And I'd take a pizza home for my dinner, and then all that money went towards getting another engine. Not finding myself a place to live because I didn't care. The only thing that I really cared about was getting this car back on the road. And I firmly believe that if I did not do that, I would have ended my life. Yeah, so I finally did save up for a new engine. And I purchased the engine off Liam here, and I firmly believe that thing was fucking cursed.
Yes, it was.
It was. There was no logical reason for why anything went wrong with this engine. And in fact, the engine itself was fine. Everything else was sabotaged around it. I got the engine, and my brake bolt fell out. Did you know that one?
No.
Yeah, my brake bolt just vanished. Yeah. The strangest part was you had to get other components out to get that bolt out, and it just vanished. We never touched that part of the car, so I don't know. Then this one was kind of my mate's fault. He didn't do up the bolt on the back of where you replace the balance shaft
replacement tube,
and it decided to shoot out my bonnet.
Didn't
Like
it
shot out the timing bolt, and like, yeah.
That's the oil pump gear too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh man, I remember that.
That was
great because we were 4 kilometers from the mechanics. The car wouldn't run. I had no money to tow it. We're about to push this all the way down the road.
to win a race. Brake check. Don't you fuck.
And we pushed this thing backwards down the wrong way on the road in the dark.
Oh, why? Feel the power, mate. Oh, the torque is amazing.
The only thing that I had done to it was a camshaft, and it went through 4 or 5 or 6 different carburetors, like completely different carburetors. I went through twin side draft Webers. I went through twin Macunis.
Yeah.
That you 2 different Solexes. And one 32/35
32
Weber.
36.
It was 32/36 Weber. And I think the strangest part about all of that was it never felt fast. It never felt fast. It never got any faster. But there was a day that I decided to... I was at a set of lights, and my mate in his 32 Turbo, we launched at the set of lights, and I beat him before the turbo kicked in. And then his turbo kicked in, and he caught up a bit, and then he changed gears, and I pulled away again. It shouldn't be possible. His car was not in any sort of sick way or lacking in power at all.
I won't knock any other motor, but I've never felt a power band for torque
as much as this.
As much as these motors. For some, like I'm
okay. All right. So this car is now becoming a drift car, and there is a lot of backlash about it. It's just complete backlash all around, but for 2 different reasons. One of them is you can't make it a drift car because there aren't many of them.
Yeah, sorry about that.
He has all of them. He has all of them. So if we bin this, you got like how many more shells?
Re-shell.
But the other reason is, what is the point of having a car if you don't drive it? I didn't enjoy driving this thing to the shops and back. It was a pain in the ass. It didn't like doing it. It overheated.
I can't drive mine in traffic.
It's horrible.
It doesn't like not being flogged.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And I hated driving it in traffic or to and from work. I hated dailying it. I loved flogging it. You know what? If I take this thing out to drift, what happens if you crash it? Well, fuck, I could just leave it in this condition, couldn't I? And just fucking stare at it. Because that's... What else are you going to do with it? I could get the same amount of pleasure looking at an old photo of it as I could not driving it. So... I would rather drive it and enjoy it than just let it sit there and rust, which it's currently doing in a very rapid rate. Like, it's only been like a few months and we're starting to...
Oh yeah, there wasn't that many.
Yeah. It's getting pretty bad.
It was not that many.
Actually, I might tell this story. So, the cooling system in this car, I don't know, I swear it was like designed for air cooling, like by Porsche or something like that, because if you're driving it hard, it never overheats. But what the issue was, it was 45 degrees on an Australia day, and the carburetors weren't getting enough oxygen from, the temperature outside, and it was pinging off its head. And I couldn't choke it down because you couldn't change that on the carby that I had. So...
Was that the stock solid?
Yeah, that was the stock one. The only option you have is idle air fuel mixture. Thanks, that fucking helps me past, $1,000. But my mate with an angle grinder cut a giant hole in it, and the only thing they had around was this Mark 1 Ford Mustang fiberglass bonnet, and we pop riveted it on and drove it home. And I drove past the cop on a motorbike, and he looked at it and went, "Oh, it's very Mad Max," and then rode off. And from then onwards, that is the only comment people say about this car. Oh, it looks like Mad Max.
Yep.
I don't know how. It doesn't look anything like Mad Max, but God, where was it fucking going with this? The other thing that people argue about for not drifting this car is that the motor is gutless. For instance, this motor was actually used in like Pajeros and stuff like that.
Ford Careers, Pajeros.
But they were used to tow camper vans and caravans.
Oh, you don't have to flog these things to make them move.
Yeah.
It's...
Torque starts at
Yeah.
1,000 RPM. None of this is my handiwork, and in fact, it's gonna become so fucking annoying, Liam, when people go like,
What's wrong with this?
No, they'll look at it and go like, "Oh wow, check that out!" Like, yeah, none of this is my work.
Just censor.
Which is
censor this.
which is gonna be great because if anything goes wrong, I can go, "Not my work, it's Liam."
Fuck.
Yeah. So, what's the little knob?
Yes.
Okay.
That has that's I'm probably going to end up going back into your intake. It's a Ford throttle body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Need a rebalance.
When I got this car, I don't know why, but like, what was it? The Dizzy, the alternator,
Remnants.
these pieces here were painted yellow. This is yellow down here.
The ignition module that I had to come out.
Yeah,
and
the
fucking
ignition
give you a new
module
one.
was painted yellow. It was weird because they had to take pieces off to paint this thing highlighter yellow. So Liam decided that when he's putting in my diff, he decided to paint it highlighter yellow. We have decided that if you can't see the car because it's black, and it really absorbs light. I can't light paint this car for some reason, but if in the dark you suddenly see highlighter, you know I fucking rolled. So I guess it's a saving grace, because this thing has no pillars, and I've seen the crash tests.
No, they're heaps good.
This car made the NCAP rating system. They were like,
Yeah.
you know what? We need a system in place to not do this.
Sure, he's got a
You've got a 3-star rating.
3-star NCAP rating.
Back when 5-star meant you're fucking dead.
The fucking engine, the steering wheel buckles. It fucking buckles. It bows and bends. It's why?
Yeah, so you know what? If I do crash this car, it's alright. I'm dead anyway. Which really brings me back to the speeds that I used to do in this thing. Like, oh god, I was stupid. Let's just say it was somewhere around the top of 4th coming into corners hard on the brakes.
On private roads, though.
On
Yeah,
private roads.
Mexico.
On private roads, yeah.
Oh, don't say Mexico. You'll get fucking hammered with the.
Yeah, Mexican ink out there.
ACA will fuck us.
When I found out just how rare these cars are, I called up my dad. I'm like, "Dad, I got 2 things to tell you. I got some good news and bad news." He's like, "What's the good news?" "My car is incredibly rare." "What's the bad news?" "It's not worth shit."
That's water around the fucking filter too.
Okay, good to know.
It's not fuel.
I love how, like, hold on, is that even... That's gonna rub.
Nah, it's got
Nah,
a fucking.
Oh no, it's got a rubber grommet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, do
That's
shit
fine.
properly here.
It's actually done pretty well. That's a lot
There's
better.
just like a borderline kink here, but that's just return to tank, so you know you're holding more fuel in here, mate.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
To be honest, it's probably better than mine. Mine,
Your E85 runs through the fucking car.
and it rubs on the seat too.
Or just look at the dash. That's not in there.
That's why we had to put the stock wheels on the back and Matt Duncalf's
Oh
wheels on the
boy.
front. Yeah, these are Matt Duncalf's wheels.
This
from...
car looks a lot smaller
Yeah.
now that it's on the floor. And it's got those wheels on it. I remember seeing it for like the first time and it had this big staunchy stance on it. Because the wheels would fill the guards properly.
Oh yeah, it wasn't exactly stance though because it's quite
It was
high.
lifted, yeah.
In fact, can you hold that? This. So, apart from the fact that there's a lot of gap. There is a lot of gap, but
It's pretty stiff.
Yeah.
yeah. In fact, hold on. Stand at the front of the car. See if I
Like,
can go straight back to normal.
for an old car, it's pretty stiff.
It's got custom sway bars front and rear.
Yeah, it's got a sway bar in the rear that they
Gigantic
never
ones.
came with.
And also because the springs are so large, like you can push this thing back and
How many,
forth.
how many coils?
Oh man, there is a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the camera, but there is a lot of fucking coils.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're pretty
Yeah.
slammed.
So when this thing goes over a bump or drops down, the wheel drops and the car doesn't move. Yeah, but yeah, okay. So I guess that is my 1979 Mitsubishi shitbox. Will also probably kill me one day, but we'll cross that road when we come to it.